in 2026. The map of the Middle East didn't just redraw itself, it shattered. Countries that had been America's closest allies for over 5 decades picked up the phone and called Tehran. Not Washington, Tehran. What you are about to watch is not fiction. These are the events, the backroom decisions, the broken treaties, and the shocking political betrayals that led to the most unexpected geopolitical earthquake of the 21st century. And almost nobody saw it coming. Almost. Stay with us. Because later in this story, we reveal the one secret Saudi phone call that changed everything. To understand the fracture, you have to understand the architecture. For decades, the Gulf Cooperation Council, comprising Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, and Oman, functioned as America's iron wall in the Middle East. U.S. military bases, U.S. arms, deals worth hundreds of billions. U.S. carrier groups patrolling the Persian Gulf like a permanent reminder of who held the power. And on the other side of that wall stood Iran, sanctioned, isolated, and labeled the region's greatest threat. That was the deal. America protected. The Gulf obeyed. But deals require trust. And by 2025, that trust had developed cracks so deep, so structural, that when the pressure came in 2026, the entire edifice collapsed. What created those cracks? 3 decisions. 3 moments of American betrayal that the Gulf never forgave. Betrayal number 1. In 2019, Saudi Arabia's Abqaiq oil facility, the single most important oil processing plant on Earth, was struck by drones and cruise missiles. Half of Saudi oil production vanished overnight. The world held its breath. Would America respond? It didn't. Washington issued statements, sanctions, and words. Not a single missile, not a single soldier. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman sat in his palace and absorbed a lesson he would never forget. Betrayal number 2. The Abraham Accords of 2020 promised the Gulf a new order. Peace with Israel, American backing, and regional dominance. But behind the scenes, the deal quietly asked something in return, which was normalization with a country conducting what the Arab Street was calling an annihilation in Gaza. By 2024, that ask had become politically impossible. Leaders who signed or were about to sign faced populations boiling with rage. America had handed the Gulf a grenade and called it a gift. Betrayal number 3, and perhaps the most quietly devastating of all, came through the Iran nuclear negotiations. When Washington began back-channel talks with Tehran in late 2025, without consulting Riyadh, and without informing Abu Dhabi, the Gulf didn't just feel sidelined. They felt replaced. If America was now talking to Iran, then who exactly were they protecting the Gulf from? Here is what almost no one reported at the time. Intelligence sources later confirmed that within 72 hours of those back-channel leaks, Saudi Arabia quietly suspended 3 joint military exercises, with U.S. Central Command, no announcement, no press release, just silence. In geopolitics, silence is the loudest signal of all. January 2026, Israel launched what it called a preemptive defensive operation, striking Iranian nuclear infrastructure at Fordo and Natanz with precision munitions. The world exhaled, then held its breath again. Because Iran didn't just respond with missiles. Iran responded with a phone call to Riyadh. The contents of that call have never been officially disclosed. But 3 separate intelligence assessments from European, Turkish, and Pakistani sources paint the same picture. Iran's message was simple, surgical, and devastating in its logic. We are not your enemy. America's wars have always been fought on your soil, with your money and your people's blood, not theirs, ours. And for the first time in modern history, the Saudi royal court didn't hang up immediately. What happened in the next 48 hours triggered a chain reaction that no war game, no think tank, and no CIA analyst had ever modeled. The UAE made the first public move. announcing it would not allow U.S. forces to use Al Dhafra Air Base for offensive operations against Iran. Qatar followed, declaring its airspace neutral. Oman, which had historically served as the quiet back-channel between Washington and Tehran, now leaned fully into that role, but not on America's behalf. And then came the moment that broke every model. Saudi Arabia announced, through a 3-line statement, released at 2 a.m. local time, that it was suspending the petrodollar agreement framework. Oil, priced not in dollars, but in a basket of currencies that included the Chinese yuan. The American financial system didn't just feel the earthquake, it was the earthquake. But here is where the story gets darker and stranger. Because even as Gulf states were pivoting toward Iran, they weren't doing it blindly.